Hey everyone, I hope you're well. This is the story about what if Naruto was Tobirama's grandson and had ice release. Before we start, please subscribe to the channel and like the video as well. So without any further ado, let's start the what if. Sasuke glared at Haku, with his Mangekyo Sharingan blazing through the girl. His eyes were still in tears, as he laid Hinata gently on the ground. Out of instinct, Sasuke focuses the remaining of his chakra into his left eye, and it started bleeding from the socket. A single word then came to his mind, before he spoke it. Amaterasu. Suddenly black flames appeared, engulfing the ice mirror dome in a sea of fire. The intensity of the heat was so hot, the mirrors were melting like butter. But Sasuke was losing consciousness and his control over the fire. His chakra was massively depleted, and the black flames had spread throughout the ice dome, trapping Sasuke, Hinata and Haku inside. There was no way out. All Haku could do was stand at the center of the dome to avoid the growing flames, with Sasuke and Hinata lie unconscious behind her. She couldn't undo her jutsu, otherwise the black flames on top of the dome would just fall on their heads. But it was only a matter of time. She then closed her eyes, accepting her grim fate. Until she heard a familiar voice yelled out from outside the dome. Water style, exploding water shockwave. A giant-size waves, after waves of water, suddenly appeared and was sent crashing onto the burning mirror dome, breaking it into a million pieces, and safely sweeping the black flames away, and into the ocean floor. Haku was painfully slammed by the large waves of water, and landed a few feet away. Her mask was heavily cracked, and a large part of it was broken. But the black fire was still burning, turning the ocean into a large steam. It must not be allowed to remain, otherwise the whole ocean will be dried up in a matter of hours. Even if it was very unlikely. But why risk it? Sealing jutsu, fire seal. Suddenly all the black flames were being sucked into a scroll, stopping any further vaporization of the water. Haku coughed out the water out of her lungs, and was taking deep breaths to regain her oxygen. She then removed the broken mask from her slightly bruised face. As she tries to figure out what just happened, she saw a lone figure hidden in the mist, standing across from her. Her vision was still blurry, but when they returned, her eyes widened when she saw who the attacker was. Naruto. Haku said, slightly choking under breath. The blonde Senju was just standing there, with a scroll in his hand. It was the same scroll he used to seal the Amaterasu flames away. He then placed the scroll in his back pouch, and went to check on Sasuke and Hinata. Hinata had no pulse, but he was able to sense a small trace of her chakra. She was still alive, but barely. Naruto then channels a small portion of Kurama's chakra into her, to jumpstart her reserves. The senbons on her body immediately fell to the ground, when the red chakra entered her system. When he was able to stabilize her condition, he sighed in relief when he saw her breathing again. Hinata was going to be okay. Sasuke on the other hand, was very depleted of his chakra. Any longer he could have dropped dead. Naruto then did the same thing for Sasuke that he did for Hinata, and all the senbons were removed from his body. Naruto then noticed a trail of blood was stained on the Uchiha's left cheek. Naruto can only assume that the black flames came from Sasuke, and concluded that Sasuke was able to unlock his Mangekyo Sharingan, and used one of its powerful jutsus against Haku. He learned all about it from his studies with the third Hokage, but he never thought he would see it with his eyes. Those black flames were extremely dangerous. He could only imagine what other powers those eyes have. But the only way to unlock it was to suffer a deep traumatic loss. But then he remembered Hinata's condition, and could only imagine how Sasuke felt when he thought he lost her. God knows what Naruto would do if he lost Ino. He would turn the world into a popsicle before he lets anything happen to her. You love Hinata, do you, Sasuke? Naruto asked his unconscious friend. He then gently placed his hand on the Uchiha's shoulder, and gave him a soft smile. Naruto was happy that Sasuke finally realized how much Hinata really meant to him. If only he knew how much he meant to her. Naruto then stood up from he was kneeling, and turned his attention back to the Yuki girl. Haku was able to recover from Naruto's previous attack, and was now standing across from him, with a sad look in her eyes. That jutsu was impressive, Naruto. I have never seen a water-style jutsu that powerful before. It took 3 of your friends just to break one of my ice mirrors. You were able to destroy them all, in one move. Haku praised her blonde opponent. Well, Sasuke's fire did help. I barely did anything honestly, Naruto admitted, but it only made Haku giggle. Teehee, you are not only kind, but humble as well. You are truly a rare gem, Naruto, Haku said with a sad smile. Stop this, Haku. This fight is over. Naruto said. I cannot. This is Zabuza-sama's mission. And I will help him finish it. Haku said. This mission is a bust, Haku. Gato is not going to pay you and Zabuza when it's done. He's going to kill Zabuza and Raiga, and take you. Naruto informed. Why would he want to take me? Haku asked innocently. Oh honey. You do realize the older you get, the harder it is to tell people you are a boy, right? Hi, I supposed you are right. Gato is a greedy and lecherous man, and what you say is likely possible. But Zabuza-sama wouldn't just listen to your word alone, and nor should I. He may be a rouge ninja, but he lives with a code. To finish the job, once it is accepted. So unless Gato reveals his betrayal himself, this fight is not over yet. And I will continue to fight, as Zabuza-sama's tool. Haku stated, but what she called herself at the end, just made Naruto cringed. Will you please stop calling yourself that? Naruto asked sadly. But that is what I am, Naruto. Which is why, I'm very sorry I have to this, but you are clearly the biggest threat compared to your friends. And I have no choice, but to eliminate you. As Haku then made a couple of unique hand seals, the temperature just got a lot more colder. Ice style, 10,000 ice petals. Countless ice shards appeared, floating around Haku, as they were now aimed towards Naruto. They were then shot forward in an incredible level of speed, causing Naruto's eyes to widen. Shit! I can't dodge that many, and I can't blow them away with my wind style. My water wall is strong, but it won't be able to block those shards. One thing left to do then. Naruto thought, as he then made several hand seals. Ice style, glacial dome. Naruto quickly freezes the surrounding air and create an icy, transparent igloo-like dome around himself. The ice shards collided with the igloo dome, but since Naruto pumped a lot of his chakra into his jutsu, the shards immediately shattered like glass once impacted. The dome was as strong as steel. Haku's eyes were widened and her breath was shaken after what she just saw. Naruto has the same power she has. She thought she was the only one left. Hyoton? How? How is this possible? Haku asked in disbelief. Because Haku, you are not the only Yuki left in the world, Naruto informed. You're a Yuki? Haku asked, as her eyes widened even more. On my grandmother's side. So I'm going to ask you one last time. Please. Please stop this. You once asked me to not fight you, and now I'm asking you. Don't fight me, Haku. Naruto said, as the glacial dome was being undone, and reverted back to water. You're a Yuki, the only Yuki I knew other than me, was my mother. I never thought I'd get to meet someone like me again. Haku said, her voice was filled with both sadness and joy. We may not be relatives, Haku, but you and I are part of the same clan. We share the same power in us. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I like to believe that we are family, Naruto said, trying to convince her not to fight him. But Haku's shocked expression immediately faded, and was now replaced with a cold look. She knew she had to kill her feelings, if she is going to defeat Naruto. I only have one family, Naruto. And that is Zabuza-sama. And I cannot fail him," Haku said, with determination in her eyes. Haku then fired more of her ice shards towards Naruto, causing him to take evasive maneuvers from the many sharp projectiles. One of the shards was able to graze his cheek, and cut his shoulder over his maroon jacket. Naruto then took out his Reiji no Ken from his pocket and light the energy sword up. He then used it to block the incoming shards, with fast and accurate swipes. Haku couldn't help but be impressed with Naruto's skills. This was one of her most lethal jutsus, yet Naruto was dancing around the field like it was nothing, and swiping the shards away with the energy sword in his hand. Haku stopped firing her ice shards, when Naruto suddenly shunshin away, disappearing from her line of sight. She then heard his voice echoing around her. "I know you tell yourself that you're just a tool." Haku heard Naruto's voice came from behind her, and shot an ice shard in that direction, but it hit nothing. "And that you have to kill me, to ensure Zabuza's success. That it is your duty," Naruto said, appearing right behind her. "It is my duty, and my burden." Haku shot an ice shard towards Naruto, but he immediately swiped it away like a fly. She then merged her remaining shards together, forming them into a long ice spear. "But that does not mean that I do not honor him," Haku yelled out, as she shot the ice spear towards Naruto in an incredible speed. With narrowed eyes, Naruto then held his Reiji no Ken in a reverse grip, and in a slow motion, he cut the ice spear in half, right down the middle. Haku's eyes widened at what Naruto just did. He was truly a force to be reckoned with. Realizing long-distance assault won't work on him, she then formed two ice swords in her hands, and charged forward. Naruto charged forward as well, and they clashed in battle of swords. Despite having two swords, Haku was losing, as Naruto's energy blade was slowly cutting through her weapons. When her ice swords finally broke, Naruto then kicked Haku away, and she was sent crashing on the rails of the bridge. Naruto then jumped up high in air, with the Reiji no Ken in both hands. He thrusted his sword downwards, with the intent to finish off Haku. At the last minute, Haku formed two new ice blades, and managed to block his downward thrust just in time. But Naruto was relentless, as the blade was now inches away from her chest. "You think you honor Zabuza by blindly following his orders? A true shinobi knows to follow their judgment. We need to learn to make the right decisions, especially when the orders you are given are wrong," Naruto said harshly. But his words made Haku narrowed her eyes at him. "You dare to lecture me about his honor? You don't even know who he is," Haku yelled out, as she kicked Naruto away, freeing herself from his deadlock, and jumped a few feet across from him. Haku then made a couple of hand seals, and used her remaining chakra for her last, and most powerful jutsu. Ice Style, Twin Crystal Dragons. Two large ice dragons appeared, and was shot towards Naruto's direction, as their roars echoed throughout the mist. Naruto then put his energy sword away and made a couple of hand seals. Ice Style, Black Dragon Blizzard. Naruto thrust his arm forward, and sends out a large black ether-like dragon towards Haku. Her eyes widened when she saw his jutsu. When Naruto's dragon collided with Haku's, her two dragons were immediately destroyed, and it continues to push on towards the Yuki girl. She was slammed hard by the powerful Hyoton jutsu, sending her a few feet away, as she dropped down to both her knees, panting and bloodied. "There is only one person in the history of our clan who is able to use the black ice. Who are you?" Haku asked in a defeated tone. Without hesitation, Naruto took out his Reiji no Ken, and dashed towards Haku in incredible speed, stopping his blade a few inches away from her neck. "Do it then, kill me," Haku said, admitting her defeat. Naruto held the blade there for a moment, until he finally removed it from her neck. "No, like I said before, you and I are family. And I won't be responsible for our clan's extinction. You still have a purpose in this life, Haku." "No, I failed. I am a useless tool. I have failed Zabuza-sama. You must kill me." "Zabuza, why that guy anyway?" I don't understand why someone who is as good as you would devote your life to a man who kill innocent people for money. Naruto asked. Because Zabuza-sama was the one who saved me, Naruto. When my Kekkei Genkai was discovered by my father, he led an angry mob to our home to kill me and my mother. My mother died protecting me, but when my father was about to kill me, my Hyoton was unleashed. I killed the mob and my own father, and I didn't even know how I did it. I spend weeks in the streets, all alone. Digging through garbage just get to some food. But luckily, ever since my Hyoton was unlocked, the cold never bothered me anymore. But I would still try to wrap myself in something warm if I could. But then Zabuza-sama found me. He did not shun me like everyone else. I know, my special powers were just what he wanted, but he made me feel necessary again. And for the first time, in a long time, I was happy. He became your family. Your home. Teehee, yes, I'm really glad I met you, Naruto. You are a good man. And I wish I could get to know you better, Haku said, with tears in her eyes. Like I said before, Haku, I'm not going to kill you. This battle was folly from the very start. Gato wants to kill all of us. And we are just made it easier for him. Naruto said. Please, you muse. Haku stopped her sentence midway, when both she and Naruto heard the sounds of 1,000 birds chirping from a distance. Haku's eyes widened in fear when she realized what was happening. Zabuza was in danger. She quickly tried to get up to save him, but was immediately pinned down by Naruto. He then ties her hands together behind her back, and placed a chakra suppression seal on her. Haku was now powerless to do anything. No! Please! Let me go! Haku begged and struggled to get free. Suddenly the mist was starting to clear, and they could see Kakashi from afar, with his signature Raikiri in his hand. They also saw Zabuza being pinned down by a pack of ninja dogs, and was completely immobilized. When Haku saw Kakashi running towards Zabuza, with the lighting blade in his hand, Haku's fears had risen, and tears were threatening to fall from her eyes. Naruto! Please let me go. Please! Let me save him. Haku begged with tears in her eyes. But Naruto gave no response. All he did was closed his eyes, like he was focusing. No! Zabuza-sama! When Kakashi was now a few feet away from Zabuza, and thrusted his Raikiri forward, Haku noticed Zabuza was looking at her, with an apologetic look in his eyes. When she saw a lone tear fell from his cheek, as he looked at her with a small smile on his face, all she could do was scream out in horror. Tiyuzan! With Asuma and Raiga. The battle between the former guardian ninja and the psychotic swordsman went on for a while now. Asuma was trying his best to not harm the child on Raiga's back, and Raiga was smart enough to use that to his advantage. Asuma and Raiga were proven to be evenly matched, and capable masters of their chosen weapons. But Raiga still had the upper hand when it comes to long-distance combat, as he often uses his swords to shoot natural lightning towards the very agile Sarutobi. Asuma couldn't launch a successful sneak attack whatsoever, since Ranmaru will always spot him with his unique Dojutsu, and warns Raiga before the attack happens. As the battle rages on, Raiga then draws his two swords together, and raised them high into the air, while drawing lightning down upon his body. Ninja Art, Thunder Dragon Tornado. Raiga then begins to spin his body around, forming a whirling vortex of wind and electricity. The vortex then takes on the form of a dragon's head, and it was then shot towards Asuma's direction. The dragon got closer and closer, causing the Sarutobi to sweat a bit. He then forms a couple of hand seals, took a deep breath. Fire style, Dragon Flame Bomb. Asuma spat out a powerful stream of fire towards the approaching dragon. The explosive fire collided with the sentient electrical tornado, cancelling each jutsus out. But all Raiga did was grin at the results. You are without a doubt an impressive foe, Asuma Sarutobi. It has been a while since someone has pushed me this far, Raiga said, excited that he had finally found a worthy opponent. Asuma gave no response however, as he was already focused with his next move. He then threw a smoke bomb beneath his feet, disappearing from Raiga's field of vision. You think a smokescreen can hide you from me? As long as I have Ranmaru, there is no escaping me, Sarutobi. Raiga yelled out with glee, but he didn't even realize that Asuma had managed to sneak past behind him. Raiga! Behind why? Ranmaru tried to warn Raiga, but his warning came too late. Asuma quickly threw both his trench knives towards the straps of Raiga's bag, causing said bag to drop down to the ground. Ranmaru! Raiga yelled out, as he tried to reach for the fallen bag, but Asuma already made a couple of hand seals and took a deep breath. Wind style, great breakthrough. Asuma blew out a powerful gust of wind towards the swordsman, and Raiga was sent a couple feet away from Ranmaru, separating the pair from each other. The large bag was then opened, and a little boy with chin-length purple hair came out of it, looking scared and worried. Raiga! Ranmaru yelled out, as he got out of the bag, and tried to run towards the swordsman. But then he felt his body completely paralyze. He didn't notice there was a long foreign shadow beneath his feet. Shadow possession success. Anytime now, Ino, Shikamaru said, in his shadow stance. Ino then made single unique hand seal, and aimed her hands towards the immobilized boy. Ninja art, mind transfer jutsu. Ino's body fell limp on the ground, as her consciousness was shot towards Ranmaru, causing the boy to stop his movements. I got him, sensei. Ino said in Ranmaru's body. Good. Get him out of here. Asuma ordered. Right. Ino said, as she led Ranmaru's body towards where she, Shikamaru, and Tazuna were. When Raiga saw Ranmaru was running away from him, his eyes widened in disbelief and anger. Ranmaru! Come back here! Raiga yelled out. He then glares at Asuma, when he saw the Sarutobi smirking with satisfaction. What's wrong, Raiga? Can't fight without your hostage? Asuma asked with the smirk never leaving his face. You will pay for that, Asuma Sarutobi. You and your brats. I will give you all the most ugliest funeral ever. Raiga yelled out in anger, as he held out his two swords up in the air. Ninja art, thunder armor. Raiga channeled a large amount of his lightning chakra, and surrounds himself with electricity in the form of a lighting armor. Raiga dashed towards Asuma in an incredible display of speed, and slammed the Sarutobi away in a powerful explosion of electricity. Asuma was sent crashing on the ground a few feet away, while coughing up a little blood from his mouth. He lifted his head up and saw Raiga smirking at him, as his thunder armor was still pulsing with pure energy from his body. Asuma, sensei! Ino yelled out in her own body, worried for her sensei's chances of survival. She was able to return to her own body when she undid her mind transfer on Ranmaru, leaving the unconscious boy in Tazuna's arms. Shikamaru was still suffering from chakra exhaustion, so it was up to her to help. Ino then ran forward and made a couple of hand seals, and slammed both her hands on the ground. Fire style, running fire. A stream of fire was sent racing through the ground, forming a large circle around Raiga, trapping him in a literal ring of fire. Ino then ran towards the injured Asuma, but that fire jutsu she used earlier was extremely taxing on her reserves. She was now completely exhausted, but managed to will her way to help her sensei. Sensei, are you okay? Ino asked, while panting. Yeah, thanks Ino. Asuma thanked his female student. She then quickly went to examine any injuries on Asuma, and was relieved that he had no fatal wounds. She then performed first aid on his left bleeding shoulder, as fast as she could. But Raiga wasn't done yet, as he managed to overpower Ino's ring of fire, with his thunder armor, and then shot a bolt of lightning towards the leaf shinobis. Out of instinct, Asuma quickly grabbed Ino, and jumped out of the way before the bolt could hit them. Raiga was still grinning like crazy, as he slowly approached the pair with an insane level of bloodthirst in his eyes. What's wrong, Sarutobi? Can't handle a little shock? Raiga said with a sinister grin. Asuma managed to stand back on his feet, and glared at the swordsman with pure focused eyes. You took my kid from me, and now, I'll take yours. Raiga said, as he was now focusing his bloodthirst gaze towards the exhausted Yamanaka girl that was standing behind the Sarutobi, with a bit of fear in her eyes. Asuma never liked threats, especially from someone as dangerous as Raiga Kurasugi. But if anyone, no matter who they are, threatens his team, especially with that crazy look in their eyes, Asuma won't hesitate to kill them, in the most bloodiest way imaginable. You stay away from her, you son of a bitch. Trust me, if I don't kill you here, her boyfriend will. Asuma said with a bit of anger in his eyes. But this made the swordsman grin even wider. Ha ha ha, there's only one way this ends, Asuma Sarutobi. Either you die, or I do. Raiga said with a sinister laugh. Then you die, Asuma said with a serious face. Asuma then takes a unique stance, with his left hand making a half-ram, while extending his right hand down, with his palm parallel to the ground. Once the stance is taken, a spirit of the thousand-armed cannon suddenly appeared behind him. Raiga was feeling even more excited when he saw Mysterious Spirit. He then channeled more chakra into his thunder armor, and charged towards Asuma with all his might, hoping to finish the Sarutobi off for good. But that was a very fatal mistake, for the swordsman. Welcoming approach, 1,000-armed murder. The cannon spirit then unleashed a barrage of 1,000 spirit first towards Raiga, pummeling him like a ragdoll, until he was sent crashing down violently towards the ground. Raiga's body was completely broken. Despite the defense of his thunder armor, he was no match against Asuma's ultimate attack. Asuma slowly approached Raiga, and was now standing before his broken form. You lost Raiga, Asuma said with a cold tone. Hee, I guess I did. Not bad, Asuma Sarutobi, Raiga said, as he coughed up a little bit of blood from his mouth. I hope you are not dead yet. Because I want to ask you something, Asuma said, as he kneeled down beside Raiga. I guess, you earned the right to ask. Why do you keep that boy, Ranmaru, on your back? Hee, because that boy has very special eyes. His Dojutsu grants him many abilities. That includes the ability to see clearly through an obstruction, and from long distances similar to the Hyugas, the Ikugen. Cough at the same time, his Kekkei Genkai has the ability to counter other Dojutsu's visual prowess, as it blocked the ability to see chakra, and even fool the vision of the all-seeing, the Ikugen. So you only kept him for his power? Asuma asked with narrowed eyes. It is the life of a shinobi. We use every asset we find to destroy our enemies, but I always enjoy Ranmaru's company. He is so ridiculously kind. He was the only one who would willingly stand by my side. Ha ha ha, in case you haven't noticed, I'm not the most stable man in the world. You don't say. Asuma said sarcastically. Hee now, may I request something of you, Asuma Sarutobi? What is it? Will you make sure Ranmaru is taken care of? I don't want him to be alone again. That is surprisingly noble of you. Hee, I'm not that predictable. So, will you grant me this request? I will do it, for the boy. That is all I ask for. Also, here. Raiga then handed Asuma his Kiba blades. Take them, you have earned them. Hee, and now, it's time for my own funeral, Raiga said with a smile, as he took his final breath, before falling into death's cold embrace. Asuma then gave a moment of silence, to respectfully mourn his fallen foe. You were a worthy adversary. I will remember you, Raiga Kurasugi, Asuma said, as he stood up, holding the Kiba blades in his hands, and walked away from the dead swordsman. He then went to check on Ino, who was now standing with Shikamaru and Tazuna, with a still unconscious Ranmaru in his arms. Are you guys alright? Asuma asked his team. We'll live, Shikamaru answered, still slightly tired. Yeah, you were amazing, Asuma-sensei, Ino said with a proud smile. Ha, nice to be noticed. How are you holding up, Tazuna-san? Asuma asked the bridge builder. Aside from shitting my pants, I'm good. Tazuna said, with a very uncomfortable look on his face. Okay you, Ino said with a disgusted look. Suddenly they heard the sounds of 1,000 birds chirping from a distance, and noticed the mist was starting to lift. As their sight returns, Shikamaru's eyes widened, when he saw Team 7, lying unconscious on the ground. Guys! Shikamaru yelled out, as he ran towards the unconscious Genins. Oh no, Ino said with a worried tone under her breath, as she follows behind the Nara. Shikamaru ran towards Choji, while Ino ran towards Sasuke and Hinata. They then went to check on their pulses, and sighed in relief that they are still alive. Sasuke and Hinata are alright. How's Choji? Ino asked. He's fine. But the real question is, where is Haku? Shikamaru asked, slightly worried. His answer was given, when they say Haku being tied up by Naruto. From a few distance away. Naruto-kun! Naruto-kun! Ino yelled out with a big smile, happy to see her whiskers again. That son of a bitch. How much you want to bet that he defeated Haku all by himself? Shikamaru asked with a tired smile. Well, judging from all this water around us, I say all your money, Ino said with the smile never leaving her face. As the mist continues to fade, they then saw Kakashi from a further distance away, as he charges towards a completely immobilized Zabuza, with a Raikiri in his hand. Tiyuzan! They heard Haku screamed her lungs out, with her voice filled with despair. But then, something unexpected happened, that caused both Ino and Shikamaru's eyes to widen in shock. With Kakashi and Zabuza, a couple of minutes earlier. Kakashi took out a small scroll from his Jonin vest, and swiped the open paper with his blood. When he closed back the scroll, he made a couple of hand seals, and slammed the scroll into the ground. Ninja art summoning, earth style, fanged pursuit jutsu. A long string of sealing formula began to flow through the ground, where the scroll was buried in. I don't know why you bother. What use is your jutsu, if you can't find me? But I can find you, who is now blindly falling into my trap. You disappoint me, Kakashi. And I think you're right earlier, it's time to finally put an end to this fight. Zabuza said with a confident tone, as he gripped the sword handle on his back. But suddenly, the ground beneath the swordsman began to shake, and a pack of ninja hounds emerges from the ground, biting his limbs, and pinning him where he stood. Kakashi then stood up from where he was kneeling, with a satisfied look on his face. I realized that if I couldn't see you, I'd have to smell you out. Those hounds are my summoning. They can track a scent anywhere. When you attacked me, I let you get past my guard. I wanted you to cut me. You see, it's the smell of my blood on your oversized blade that led them to you. Surprised? Zabuza was now gritting his teeth in anger and frustration. Looks like I wasn't the only one who was blind. Falling into my trap. You disappoint me, Zabuza. And look at that, the mist is finally clearing. And you know what I see? Your death. Kakashi said victoriously. Talk, talk, talk. Do you mean to talk to me to death? Zabuza replied jokingly. In a way, yes. Right now, my hounds are just playing with you. But one word from me, and they'll tear you apart, poor Zabuza, see where your ambitions got you? You were always pushing things too far. Like that failed Mizuki assassination, and your attempted coup d'état. You were forced to flee, with the few followers you had. Your country's hunter ninjas are always hot on your heels. You became a rogue ninja, whose name was quickly known, even in Konoha. You're an asshole Kakashi, you know that? Zabuza said with narrowed eyes, didn't like to be reminded of his failures. Oh, I know. And now you're crazy enough to want to go back, and try it again, but for that, you need money. And to get it, you stooped so low as to be a hired thug for a swine like Gato. But this only made the swordsman narrowed his eyes even more at him. You ignorant asshole. I want to go back, not because I want to try again, but because I made a promise, I have someone who is relying on me back home. And I'm not returning empty-handed. Well, whoever this someone is, it seems that you are about to break that promise with them. Zabuza wanted to glare at Kakashi for what he said, but all he could do was look down in disappointment. Was he really going to break his promise to her? Alright, Zabuza. Enough talk. Time to finish it. But it won't be with my Sharingan. It would be a disgrace to kill you with an imitation of some other ninja's tricks. No, it's time I introduced you to my own jutsu. Kakashi said, as he formed a hand seal. He then made a couple more hand seals, and channeled a concentrated amount of lightning chakra on the palm of his hand. The chaotic sound of the crackling electricity was so intense, it almost sounded like the chirping of 1,000 birds. Raikiri. Shit. The power of that jutsu will kill me for sure, and I can't move, came the worried thoughts of Zabuza. Without saying any more words, Kakashi charges towards the immobilized Zabuza with the lighting blade in his hand. Zabuza tried his best to free himself, but the ninja hounds were firmly holding him down. As Kakashi got closer and closer, Zabuza's life began to literally flash through his eyes. All the memories he had experienced came rushing through his head like a flood. All the way, from his time in the Shinobi Academy, where he needed to eliminate all of his classmates, just to graduate and became a genin. All the missions and good times he spent with his genin team. How he became the next wielder of the Kubikura Bocho. How his best friend and teammate betrayed him by siding with Yagura. And how he made the sincere promise to his second teammate before he left Kirigakure while she stayed behind. Eventually, he remembered the time when he met Haku. The small gentle girl who he found one day and decided to take under his wing. He told her and himself that he only wanted her to be his weapon, which she accepted willingly. But over the years, the very sweet and loyal girl began to grow on the so-called cold-blooded demon. He remembered the time when she lost her pet bunny, and how he would immediately bring it back, just to make her smile. How he trained her, and taught her what it means to be a true shinobi. How he would take care of her when she was not feeling well, and how she would do the same for him. When Zabuza turned his head, and saw a tied-up Haku, who was crying out for him, he finally realized a simple truth that he had long denied. Haku was truly the daughter he never had. When he saw the sadness in her eyes, his heart immediately breaks for her. His biggest regret was not telling the two people, who meant the world to him, how he truly felt about them. He couldn't help but let a single tear fell from his eye. Realizing it was too late for him. I'm sorry Haku, and I'm sorry Mei, looks like I can't keep my promise after all. Zabuza said sadly under his breath, but smiled nonetheless, as Kakashi was now inches away from him, and thrusted his Raikiri forward. Tiyuzan. He heard Haku screamed out, and his heart broke even more for his little girl. He was truly happy to hear her call him that. He then closed his eyes, waiting for his inevitable doom. But apparently, nothing happened. Zabuza opened his eyes, and saw someone firmly holding Kakashi's lighting-coated arm, that was now inches away from the swordsman's chest. It was the same blonde boy that was with Haku earlier. But how the hell did he get there so fast? Naruto? How did you? Kakashi asked in disbelief, at what he thought he saw. Let's just say, I left a mark on you. But no time to explain. Turn off your Raikiri, Naruto ordered. What? But Zabuza. Nisen, trust me, Naruto said with a firm yet reassuring tone. Kakashi was hesitant at first, but the look in Naruto's violet eyes told him that he should trust his surrogate little brother. Kakashi then turns off his Raikiri, and backed away, allowing Naruto to let go of his arm. The blonde Senju then turns his attention towards the still immobilized swordsman. It is nice to finally meet you, Zabuza Momochi, Naruto greeted with small smile. Who are you, kid? Zabuza asked, curious about the young man who saved his life. I am Naruto Senju. But I'm afraid, we have no time for any more pleasantries. Because as of now, we all have a common enemy. Naruto said with a grim tone. What do you mean, Naruto? Kakashi asked, wondering what he meant. That's what I mean, Naruto said, as he pointed his finger towards the large army of thugs that are now at the far end of the bridge. In front of them was a small man in a suit. It was Gato, with his large sinister grin on his face. Well. Looks like the Konoha shinobis did quite a job on you, didn't they, Zabuza? You look like yesterday's sashimi. I must say, I'm disappointed, Gato said in a mocking tone, towards the demon of the hidden mist. He then set his eyes towards the still tied-up Haku, and his evil grin grew even wider. Looks like my birthday came early, boys, because I see my pretty little present over there. All wrapped up with a bow on top, just the way I like it. Hee, I can already taste her skin already, Gato said while licking his lips, as he stares hungrily at the helpless Yuki girl. But his words were loud enough for both Naruto and Zabuza to hear, which they both release a large amount of their killing intent towards the slimy little man. You are so fucking dead, came the thoughts of both Zabuza and Naruto. It was a moment of pure silence. Naruto was now standing with Kakashi and Zabuza, who was still pinned down to the ground by the silver-haired Jonin's hounds. All three shinobi were glaring at the army of murderous thugs that was standing before them. Leading the despicable bunch was the most despicable man in the world, Gato. And after he announced his untimely arrival, he said something that one should never said in front of a girl's father. What the fuck did you just say, Gato? 'Cause I don't think I heard you right. Mind repeating that? Zabuza asked threateningly, daring the little man to answer the suicidal question. But Gato merely scoffed. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you had gone deaf, demon of the hidden mist, ha 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 ha. And just so you know, Zabuza, I was never going to pay you, you dumb son of a bitch. Gato yelled out with glee, which made Zabuza's blood boil even more. Now that Raiga's dead, and you'll soon about to join him, all there is left is to finish you all off. But I'll be keeping the Konoha kunoichis and your little whore. I'll have my fun with that bitch, and then I'll give what's left of her to these fine gentlemen, hee, Gato said as he licked his lips hungrily at Haku, while his men laughed along, and yelled out very vulgar things of what they want to do with the Yuki girl. Haku showed no fear in her eyes when she heard this. But for Zabuza, he wants to kill every single one of them. Slowly and painfully. He then turned his head to Kakashi and Naruto. Kakashi, can you get these fucking dogs off me, so I can kill this fucking fat, slimy, backstabbing, degenerate piece of shit? Zabuza asked, trying very hard to control his murderous impulse. Kakashi nodded, and undid his summoning, allowing all of his ninja hounds to disappear in a puff of smoke, freeing Zabuza from their hold. But Zabuza's arms felt very numb from the dog's very deep bites and blood lost. He tried to lift his Kubikiribocho, but he can barely lift the giant sword with his one good arm anymore. He needed a moment to recover his strength. He thought about using his mouth to fight, but he wasn't suicidal yet. But Zabuza's thoughts were broken when he saw Naruto step forward. Save your strength, Zabuza. I'll take care of them, Naruto said with a monotone voice, not liking the idea of what he was about to do. But Zabuza merely scoffed. He admires the blonde boy's guts, but Gato is his kill. Fat chance, kid. This scum dies, by my hand, Zabuza said angrily. Naruto thought about it at first, and agreed that Gato should die by Zabuza's hand, since it might earn him the swordsman's favor. But Zabuza was still in no shape to fight the thug army. Fine. You get the slime ball. But I will handle the rest. Naruto said confidently. But Kakashi would be damned if he remained silent any longer, and let his little brother do this, especially at such a young age. He doesn't doubt Naruto's abilities as a ninja, but he was afraid what this action could do him. Naruto, there are more than 100 men. Let me handle them. Kakashi said. With all due respect, Kakashi-Nisen, that won't be a good idea. Your chakra levels are nearly empty. Whether these men are shinobi or not, one will likely land a lucky hit and possibly kill you. And I won't let that happen. Enko-nichan will kill me, if I did. Naruto said, while laughing softly at the end. Maybe, but you're crazy if I let you fight them all alone. Kakashi said, still insisting on helping. Don't worry, Kakashi-nisan. Naruto said, as he took out a single kunai from his pouch. But strangely, there was some sort of seal written on the handle. This will be over in a flash, Naruto finished with a soft smirk, but the last word made the silver-haired Jonin widened his eyes in disbelief. Naruto, don't tell me that you... Kakashi gasped, as tries to find the right words for what Naruto was about to do. Without wasting any more time, Naruto threw the single kunai towards Gato, and made a couple of hand seals. Ninja art, Shuriken shadow, clone jutsu. The single kunai then multiplied into hundreds, causing Gato and his army to tremble in fear, and attempted to take cover. But surprisingly, all of the kunais missed. They just landed on the ground beneath their feet. But Naruto didn't look disappointed. Ha 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 ha. Gato and his men laughed out loud, for the blonde boy's lack of accuracy and stupidity. That was completely pathetic. That was the worst fucking throw I ever saw. You had us scared there for a moment, brat. But none of your stupid knives even touched us. Ha 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 ha, Gato yelled out with glee, and continued laughing hysterically with his men. Zabuza's eyes twitched for a moment. He actually thought the blonde boy was about to do something awesome. Saying he was disappointed was an understatement. Kid, what the hell was that? You can't aim for shit. Zabuza yelled out frustratingly and angrily, but Naruto didn't bat an eye. Kakashi wanted to say something as well, but he has a good feeling that he already knows what Naruto was about to do. Naruto only responded by taking out the Reiji no Ken from his inner jacket pocket and light the energy sword up in his hand. Zabuza and Kakashi's eyes were widened at the magnificent sight of the unique sword that was in the blonde's hand. I wasn't trying to, Naruto said calmly to Zabuza, before he instantly disappeared in a yellow and red flash. Holy shit, Kakashi and Zabuza thought at the same time. As Gato continues to ignorantly laugh out loud in front of his men, he didn't realize that the laughter of his army behind him was slowly growing silent. He failed to hear their sudden gasp, before their bodies fell limp on the ground, or the sounds of an energy blade being swiped around, cutting through flesh after flesh. They wanted to scream, but Naruto was inhumanely fast, as he teleported from one spot to another, slicing their throats, before they could utter a single word. Gato slowly stopped his hysterical laughter, when he felt a cold chill crawling up his spine. As he turned his head around, his eyes widened in fear, when he saw all of his men lie dead on the ground, with a single figure standing over them, wielding the energy sword in his hand. He then noticed, it was the same blonde boy that he was laughing at earlier. Flying Raijin Slice. Naruto said his jutsu's name calmly, with a cold look in his eyes, for the little businessman. What? How did? Gato was stuttering heavily at the sight of the blonde boy, that was now covered in his men's blood. Believe me, it took me years to master this jutsu. Your men were unfortunate enough to be my first field test. They have my undying gratitude, Naruto said with a monotone voice, meaning that he took no pleasure in his actions, but it was enough to put the fear of God in Gato. As Naruto slowly walked menacingly towards the short businessman, Gato instinctively and fearfully ran at the opposite direction, trying to get as far away from the blonde as possible. But that was a very foolish decision. He had completely forgotten who was standing at the other side of the bridge. As he ran and ran, he bumped into something hard, and fell on his butt. He lifted his head, and his eyes widened in fear at the person standing before him. Zabuza, Gato said with fear in his voice, but then he grins widely, when he realized a golden opportunity to save his ass. Quickly Zabuza! Kill that brat! I will pay you double! Gato ordered, as he pointed his finger at Naruto. But Zabuza gave no response, as he continues to glare daggers at the short man. What are you waiting for, you idiot? Kill that fish. Gato yelled out in pain, as Zabuza swiftly used his Kubikuribocho to cleanly severed both his legs from his body, causing him to drop to the ground, with buckets of blood pouring out of his wounds. Pitch, god damn it. Wait. No. Don't. Gato tried to crawl away, and used his non-broken arm to shield himself from Zabuza, but the swordsman simply severed his arm without a second thought, causing him to scream out in agony once more, as more blood was spilling from his new wound. Gato was completely immobilized. Both his legs and left arm were severed. He was losing so much blood that he could go into shock at any moment. If he lost his last limb, he'll most likely look like a potato in a bloody 5 million Rio suit. Zabuza, please. Don't kill me. I will give you anything. Money. Weapons. Won't it? Zabuza cut him off by severing his last remaining arm, causing him to scream out in agony while crying his eyes out and pissing his pants in the process. It was truly a pathetic and bloody sight. Zabuza was now standing over Gato, with the giant cleaver sword in his hand, looking down at the man who threatened to rape his little girl. When I first met you, Gato, I knew you were a worm. Ha ha ha, I guess you practically are now, Zabuza said mockingly, implying all of his now severed limbs. Please help me, I'll pay. Gato begged, but failed. Money won't save you this time, Gato. You know, there are only 3 things I hate in this world. 1. People who break their deals with me. 2. Degenerate scum who prey on innocent women. 3. Anyone who even thinks of touching my little girl. Zabuza said, as his killing intent was releasing from his body. Gulp was all Gato could do. And you know the funny thing is? You're all 3. Zabuza said as he lifted his giant sword high up in the air. Gato's eyes were widened. It can't end like this, he thought. His fears intensified when saw the giant demonic aura surrounding Zabuza. He truly was a demon. No! Zabuza! I beg of you. No, Gato begged pathetically, but it was futile, as Zabuza dropped his giant sword downwards, and sliced the short businessman in half, from top to bottom. Gato was finally dead. Zabuza was tired. He was injured, but still alive. This job had been a complete waste of time. He was frustrated, but he was glad that he and Haku are still alive. For now. When he heard the sounds of footsteps running towards him, he turns around, preparing for a sudden attack. But instead, he was engulfed with a sudden tight hug. He looked down, and saw it was Haku, as she was sobbing heavily on his chest. Zabuza honestly did not know how to react. Haku never hugged him before, and neither did he, to her. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Zabuza-sama. I have failed you. I am a useless tool, Haku said sadly, as she continues to cry on his chest. But what she just called herself made Zabuza cringe and regretful. He never truly saw her as a tool, and he was ashamed of himself for letting her believe that she was. Stop. Please, Haku, don't call yourself that anymore. Zabuza said softly, which made Haku look at him with wide eyes. But, you said I was your tool. Your weapon. Haku reminded. I know what I said, and I was wrong. You're not my tool, Haku, you're my little girl. And I'm so sorry, I never told you that before. Zabuza said lovingly, as returned Haku's hug, embracing her tightly like he should have done long ago. Haku couldn't believe what was happening. For years, she had always saw Zabuza as her father. She had accepted that Zabuza only sees her as a disposable tool. But she always dreamt that he would one day see her as his daughter. So when he hugged her for the first time, she couldn't help but cry even more. This was what she always wanted from him. Tosin, I was so scared. I thought I was going to lose you. Haku said with tears in her eyes. Hearing her called him Tosin again made him feel very warm inside. He smiled at her, as he wipes the tears from her cheeks. For a second there, I thought so too. I thought I was a complete goner, until that kid showed up out of nowhere. Zabuza said, as he pointed his head towards Naruto. Haku turned her head and saw Naruto from a distant, still walking towards them. Yes, he was the boy I met in the forest. Haku said with a soft smile. That kid? The so-called, kind boy, you can't stop talking about? Zabuza asked with a raised eyebrow, since his first impression of Naruto was someone not to be fucked with. Not kind and gentle like what Haku described. But Haku blushes from embarrassment when Zabuza mentioned that she can't stop talking about Naruto. Naruto then finally approached the Kiri shinobis, as Kakashi and Asuma were also approaching them from the other side. Zabuza felt a bit worried, and he knew he needed to make his intentions clear to the Leaf shinobis. Well, Kakashi, looks like my contract with Gato is terminated. Permanently. I guess there is no need for us to fight anymore. Zabuza said, as he let go of Haku. I guess we don't. Kakashi said, as he pulled his headband down, to cover his lone Sharingan eye. So what now? Asuma asked the Kiri ninjas. I guess, we move on. Let's just hope our paths won't cross again. Zabuza said. But Haku looked a little disappointed to go back to the tiring life of running from hunters. But luckily Naruto noticed the disappointed look on her face, and knew what he needed to do, to protect his last remaining fellow Yuki clan member. Zabuza, may I make a suggestion? Naruto asked out of the blue, gaining the attention of everyone. What suggestion? Zabuza asked with a raised eyebrow. How about you and Haku, come back to Konoha with us? Naruto offered, which surprised both the Kiri ninjas, for the blonde's generous proposal. Naruto, you can't just offer a rogue shinobi asylum. You're not the Hokage. Kakashi said. Not yet, Kakashi-san. But I do know the current Hokage. And I'm sure Sarutobi-sensei will be more than happy to have such a highly skilled swordsman such as Zabuza in his shinobi ranks. Haku on the other hand, is never listed as a rogue shinobi of Kiri, and with her skills, I see no reason why not to include her. But I do recommend keeping her Hyoton a secret, for now. If the elders and the village council would find out, who knows what will happen. But rest assured, nothing will. Naruto reasoned. I don't know, kid. What you're selling sounds a little too good to be true. Zabuza said, skeptical of the boy's words. I know you have no reason to, but you can trust me, Zabuza. I may be 13 and a genin, but I always keep my word. That is my ninja way. Naruto said with a bright smile. His kind words and his sincere smile felt very welcoming to the rogue swordsman. Like something inside him tells him to just trust the little blonde. All Haku could do was blush. Naruto truly does have a beautiful smile. Haku is aware that Zabuza had just finally acknowledged her as a person that he cares for, but she felt that she needed to voice out her opinion on the matter, before any decision was made. Zabuza-sama, Tosen, maybe we should consider Naruto's offer. If we do, we don't have to live on the run anymore. Always looking over our shoulder, and never settling anywhere. We can finally live in a peaceful village, under the protection of a Kage. We can finally be safe and free, for a while. And I know you may not trust Naruto, but I do. So please, trust me. Haku said with pleading eyes. Zabuza was truly surprised. This was the first time Haku believes in someone that wasn't him. Naruto must be really special than he thought. He then turned his attention to the blonde boy before him. His violet eyes was piercing through his soul. You saved my life, Naruto. And I have a feeling you saved Haku's as well. I am in your department. And if Haku trusts you, and so will I, but if you make me regret this, I will shove my foot up your ass. Zabuza said threateningly. Ha ha ha, I expect nothing less from Haku's father. Naruto said with smirk as he offered his hand to Zabuza for a handshake. MMPH cheeky brat, Zabuza scoffed, but he returned the handshake as well. He will follow Naruto until his department to him is repaid. Suddenly, they heard the sound of footsteps running towards Naruto's direction. Naruto Kun! Ino yelled out, as she tackled Naruto in a bone-crushing hug. Naruto wasn't that surprised since he sensed Ino running towards him from a mile away, and returned the hug in full. Naruto always loves how soft her touch was, and the flowery scent of her hair was just mind-blowing. He didn't realize how much he missed her. Haku looked a little disappointed when saw the level of affection from the blonde pair. But nevertheless, she still sees Naruto as someone very special to her. And if he was happy, then she will be happy for him. A part of her wasn't that surprised that Naruto already has girlfriend. The blonde boy can be quite a charmer. Ino-chan, are you alright? Naruto asked in a sweet loving voice, as he softly stroked her cheek with his fingers. This caused the Yamanaka to blush immediately. Teehee, I should be asking you that. You look as bad as that Ebisu guy, when Asuma-sensei told Kurenai-sensei and Enko about his secret peeking at the hot springs. Ino said with a cute giggle, but both Asuma and Kakashi managed to overhear, and couldn't help but laugh at the memory. Their girlfriends can be very brutal when it comes to perverts. Really? Oh no, wait, this blood is not mine, Ino-chan. Naruto said, pointing to his blood-covered clothes. Oh, okay, I'm little grossed out, but I'm glad it's not yours. Ino said, as she gave Naruto a quick kiss on the cheek. Ino then subtly made a single hand seal, and activated her mind link with Naruto. That's too bad though. I guess you won't be nursing me back to health, when we get back home. Naruto thought with a teasing smirk. Naruto-kun, please don't make me blush in front of all these people. And besides, who says I won't do it? Ino thought with a seductive tone, that made Naruto blush a bit. Now look who's teasing. Naruto thought, as he looked at Ino lovingly. Oh Whiskers, this is just the start. Ino thought with a cute giggle, as she already can't wait to get back home, so she can spend some quality time with her Naruto. As the blonde pair were still having their telepathic conversation, Zabuza was asking Kakashi about what Ino meant, when she mentioned the beaten-up pervert at the hot springs. And the answer Kakashi had given him, was not at all satisfying. Stay away from the hot springs, Haku. Perverts tend to take their beatings as a challenge, to try harder not to get caught next time. Zabuza ordered with a strict tone, to his surrogate daughter. As you wish, Zabuza-sama. Haku happily obliged, liking how protective Zabuza has now become of her. Like a real father would. Kakashi then turned his attention back towards his fellow Konoha Jonin. Where's Shikamaru? Kakashi asked Asuma. He's with Tazuna and Team 7. He wanted to make sure they are safe when they awake. Asuma answered. With Sasuke and Hinata. Sasuke woke up a couple minutes later after Naruto's little slaughter, and Zabuza's brutal execution of Gato. So he didn't get to see how powerful and deadly his rival and best friend had become. But even if he did, his attention was still firmly locked on the unconscious Hyuga girl that was still in his arms. Shikamaru was still busy helping out Choji, so neither him nor Ino told Sasuke that Hinata was still alive. He continues to stare at her unconscious face with his lifeless eyes, still completely love-struck by her beauty. He gently removed the strands of hair from her face, and stroked her soft cheek with his fingers. He wanted to cry for her lost, but he couldn't. He felt hollow without her. He then placed his forehead near hers, and closed his eyes, breathing in her lavender scent. He didn't realize how much Hinata truly meant to him. She was his first friend. His best friend. The first person who sees him as Sasuke, and not Itachi Uchiha's little brother or Fugaku Uchiha's second son. And especially not the last loyal Uchiha. She was truly his light. And now she's gone. She was there for him, when he needed her the most. And he cursed himself for not being there for her, when she needed him. "I'm sorry, Hinata. I'm so sorry I couldn't save you. I never had the chance to tell you that I low." Suddenly, Sasuke felt Hinata's soft hand grasping his cheek. His eyes snapped open as he pulled his forehead from hers. His face showed a mixture of both shock and relief as he looked at her awakening face. Her eyes slowly opened, causing his to tear up once more. "Sasuke-kun?" Hinata said weakly, but was slightly blushing when she noticed how close Sasuke was to her. "Hinata, I thought I lost you. I'm so glad you're okay," Sasuke said with tears in his eyes, as he hugged her tightly. He didn't care if it was very uncharacteristic of him. He just wanted to hold her and never let go. Hinata was blushing red at this point, but she understands how Sasuke must have felt. She did sacrifice herself for him, and she honestly thought she was about to die. She then hugged him back tightly, feeling his warmness and love. "I'm glad you're okay too, Sasuke-kun," Hinata said with a soft smile, as she continues to hug him. Sasuke then gently pulled away from the hug to look at her face. She looked absolutely breathtaking. He then remembers Ino's advice in his head, and decided to let Hinata know what he truly thinks of her. "Have I ever told you, Hinata, that you are so beautiful?" Sasuke asked with a very rare warm smile on his face. But his sincere kind words made Hinata turn vermilion red, as her eyes widened. Sasuke never told her she was beautiful before. And now that he did, her heart was beating life crazy. "Eek!" Hinata squealed loudly with her cute, squeaky voice, before fainting. Hinata? Hinata? Why does that always happen?" Sasuke asked himself, with a tired sigh. Sasuke then saw Shikamaru and Choji walking towards them. Shikamaru was helping Choji walk by letting the chubby boy lean on the lazy Nara, which Shikamaru was starting to regret. She always does that, Sasuke, but only with you," Choji said with a smile. "Are you okay, Choji?" Sasuke asked his teammate. "Yeah, I don't feel like a pincushion anymore thanks to Shikamaru, so that's good. But now, I'm super hungry," Choji said as he rubbed his empty belly. "You're always hungry, Choji," Shikamaru said with a lazy smirk. "What happened when I was out? What happened to Haku?" Sasuke asked the pair standing before him. "Guess," Shikamaru simply asked. "Naruto?" Sasuke answered with a deadpan look, feeling that was the obvious answer. "Naruto," both Shikamaru and Choji said in unison. Sasuke then turned his head, and saw Naruto, Ino, Kakashi and Asuma, talking to Zabuza and Haku. He can only assumed that the battle was over, and it ended peacefully. He then noticed the pile of bodies behind them, and Naruto was covered in blood. He assumed it was not his, since he looked healthy and uninjured. The Uchiha gritted his teeth in frustration. How am I supposed to catch up to him now? The Dob, Naruto, has always been better than me. I have already accepted that. But, I just want to catch up to him. I won't be able to defeat Itachi at my current level. I need to get stronger, no matter what. Sasuke thought with determination. He really wanted to be Naruto's equal, but at this rate he won't be able to stop Itachi. He needed more power. But the real question is how. But then Sasuke remembered what he and Naruto had promised. The Dobe did promise me a spar, after the mission is over. I might as well see how far I have gotten. Sasuke thought with a bit of hope in his voice. 3 days later. After the gruesome battle on the bridge, Teams 7 and 10, along with Zabuza, Haku and Ranmaru had called for a truce. Kakashi and Asuma hold no grudges against their former enemies since they were just doing a job. While Hinata had forgiven Haku for almost killing her, Sasuke did not. He won't show animosity towards the Yuki girl for Hinata's sake, but that doesn't mean he has to be her friend, or like her. Ranmaru, however, was very depressed for the death of his dear friend Raiga. While the late swordsman was no doubt psychotic, he truly cared for Ranmaru. The little boy was once shunned by everyone around him, due to his Kekkei Genkai, since he was from the land of water. When Raiga found him, and decided to take him under his wing, Ranmaru finally had a place where he belonged. But now that Raiga is gone, Ranmaru was once again, all alone. Ranmaru hardly spoke to anyone ever since, until Naruto finally approached him. The blonde Senju was able to sympathize with the purple-haired boy. He spoke kindly, and showed great compassion that the little boy has never experienced before. Naruto eventually got Ranmaru to open up, and comforted him when the little boy finally cried and grieved for his dear friend, Raiga. Ranmaru only spoke to Naruto ever since, but Naruto wanted the little boy to feel the warm embrace of a family, since he told the blonde Senju that he grew up alone, with no love or support. But luckily, he was able to convince Ranmaru to get to know Tazuna's family more. Tsunami was very kind to him, and would even let Ranmaru help cook everyone's meals with her. Ranmaru even played some games with Inari, and learned the fine art of bridge building with Tazuna. Ranmaru didn't know why, but he was now beginning to grow very attached with the bridge builders' family. They were very good and loving people. Naruto offered Ranmaru to come with him to Konoha like Zabuza and Haku, but the little boy respectfully declined, and decided to stay in the land of waves, with Tazuna and his family. Naruto respected Ranmaru's decision, and wished him all the best. But Naruto gave him one of his marked kunais, just in case, and told him to simply channel his chakra into it if he needs him, and he'll come in a flash. Whatever that means, Ranmaru wondered. The next day, with Naruto and Sasuke. Naruto and Sasuke made their way to the forest area, where the Genins did their tree climbing exercise. Naruto was surprised when Sasuke suddenly approached him, and asked him to follow him. Naruto complied, and wondered what the last loyal Uchiha wanted. "Sasuke, what are we doing here?" Naruto asked, as they finally arrived at the training site. Sasuke stopped walking, and turned to face Naruto, with a burning determination in his eyes. "Fight me," Sasuke simply said. "Now?" Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Sasuke just nodded his head, with his onyx eyes never leaving Naruto's. "I'm sure, but why?" Naruto asked curiously. "Because you promised me a fight when the mission is over," Sasuke answered. Naruto had actually forgotten about that, and rubbed the back of his head embarrassingly. "Yeah, but I thought we do it when we get back home, or..." "No! We do this now." Sasuke interrupted him, with his voice becoming slightly angry. Okay, don't get your knickers in a twist, fine. We'll fight. What are the rules?" Naruto asked, with his tone becoming slightly serious. Sasuke gave a grateful smile to the blonde, meaning that he appreciates Naruto taking their spar seriously. "Last man standing wins," Sasuke said, as he took his interceptor fist stance. "If you don't mind me asking, but why the sudden rush, Sasuke?" Naruto asked curiously, as he stretches his arms for the upcoming fight. I need to test myself. And today is the day where I will finally beat you, Naruto," Sasuke said with great determination in his voice. "Very well then. Whenever you're ready," Naruto said, as he took his wing fist stance. It was a moment of silence, until Sasuke finally yelled out, "Begin!" Naruto and Sasuke charged forward towards each other, and clashed in an impressive display of strength that sends out loud echoes throughout the forest. They were locked in an intense taijutsu fight, with Naruto's wing fist against Sasuke's interceptor fist. Sasuke's fighting style was equal against Naruto's, since his fighting style relies on predicting his opponent's attacks. But Naruto was never the one to strike first, since his fighting style is more defensive. So Sasuke needed to strike first, and strike hard. And knowing the blonde Senju's level of skill, he must show no mercy, if he wants to win against Naruto. But Naruto was still not an easy opponent. The fight was long and intense, and Naruto appeared to be winning. Sasuke then activated his 3-Tomo Sharingan, hoping to give himself a slight edge against the blonde. But to his surprise, he cannot predict Naruto's movements, nor copy them. His focus was broken when Naruto landed a strong kick on Sasuke's chest, and he was sent flying a couple of feet away, landing roughly on the ground. What the hell is going on? Why can't I copy your moves? Sasuke asked angrily, as he tried to stand back up. First of all, Sasuke, that is so not cool. You can't just steal my moves. Naruto said with a mock-hurt tone, then he continued with a smirk, which is what I already predicted. So luckily, I came prepared. Naruto finished with the smirk never leaving his face. What do you mean, dope? Sasuke asked with a raised eyebrow, as he stood back up on his feet. Well, after Asuma-sensei told me about his fight with Raiga, he mentioned a fascinating fact about Ranmaru-kun. More particularly, his unique Dojutsu, and the powers they possessed. Specifically, the ability to counter other Dojutsu's visual prowess, like your Sharingan and Hinata's Byakugan. That is impossible. I'm afraid it is. I got a little curious, so I asked Ranmaru-kun how his eyes work. After he told me everything he knew, I came up with an ingenious idea to replicate that power by using Fuinjutsu. So what are you saying is? Sasuke asked, with great hesitance in his voice. You can't predict, nor copy my moves or jutsus, Sasuke, and Hinata can't see through me with her Byakugan. Naruto said, as he rolled up his sleeve, and a tattoo-like seal appeared glowing on his right forearm. Sasuke was seething his teeth in anger. Naruto is always one step ahead of him, and now he can't copy his jutsus. Damn it, then I guess I'll get a little serious, Sasuke said, as formed a couple of hand seals, and took a deep breath. Fire style, fireball jutsu. Sasuke blew out a very large ball of fire towards Naruto, who simply stood his ground. Naruto was smiling for his friend's tenacity and then made several hand seals of his own. Water style, liquid bullet. Naruto spit out large orb of water towards Sasuke's fireball, cancelling each jutsus out, leaving behind a very thick steam in the process. Because of it, Sasuke managed to disappear from Naruto's line of sight. Naruto closed his eyes to track the Uchiha's whereabouts. He snapped his eyes open when he sensed Sasuke threw several projectiles towards him. They were shurikens, with ninja wires attached. Instead of hitting Naruto, they merely circle around him, trying to tie him up against the tree behind him. Naruto managed to took out 2 kunais and channeled wind chakra into them. He was able to slice his way through the cables, and afterwards, threw both kunais towards Sasuke, but not before making several hand seals. Ninja art, Shuriken Shadow, Clone Jutsu. The 2 wind chakra enhanced kunais multiplied into hundreds, as they flew towards the Uchiha. But thanks to his Sharingan, Sasuke was able to see through the multitude of kunais, and made several hand seals, and took a deep breath. Fire style, Dragon Flame Jutsu. Sasuke unleashed his strongest fire jutsu towards the kunais, stopping their momentum. The fire dragon head managed to push on through the wall of kunais, and was then sent straight towards the blonde Senju. Naruto was able to dodge the incoming dragon fire, and made several hand seals. A large stream of water was then pulled out of thin air, circling around Naruto, as they took the shape of a dragon. Water style, Water Dragon Jutsu. The water dragon was then sent towards the Uchiha, hitting him directly, as he was sent crashing towards a tree. Sasuke could barely stand anymore. The water dragon wasn't as powerful, but it was strong enough to knock him down. Sasuke realized he had no other choice and knew what he needed to do to win. He channeled more chakra to his left eye, and it started to bleed down his cheeks. Naruto's eyes widened as he realizes what Sasuke was about to do. Naruto quickly took out a single kunai, and threw it towards Sasuke's direction. He then followed up by making a couple of hand seals, and thrusted his open hand forward. Wind style, Gale Palm. The concentrated wind force blew the kunai towards the Uchiha in incredible level of speed. Seeing this, Sasuke had lost his concentration, and with the help of his Sharingan, he was able to dodge the flying knife in time, by leaning his head sideways, as the kunai missed, but grazed his cheek a bit. But unbeknownst to Sasuke, the kunai was marked with Naruto's Hiraishin seal, And the blonde had suddenly disappeared, but then he reappeared right behind Sasuke, holding the same kunai that was thrown earlier, right near the Uchiha's throat. Sasuke's eyes widened, as his Mangekyo Sharingan receded back into its 3-tomo stage. "Looks like I win," Sasuke, Naruto said, with serious look and tone. "How did you do that?" Sasuke asked, not moving a muscle. "Family secret. You fought well, Sasuke. You should be proud of yourself," Naruto said, as he removed the kunai from his throat and stepped back, as Sasuke fell to his knees in shame. Sasuke was gripping the grass beneath him, as he gritted his teeth in anger and frustration. He had lost, again. I still can't beat you, why? Why are you so strong, Naruto?" Sasuke yelled out with sad tears in his eyes. Naruto was surprised by his friend's sudden outburst. But he decided to let him finally vent it all out. "I did everything right. I studied scrolls. I trained every day. And yet, I can't catch up to you. I'm sorry, I can't take this anymore, Naruto. I need to be stronger. I need to be stronger now, whatever it takes." Naruto was very worried about the desperate tone in the Uchiha's voice, and decided to say something before it escalates. "Sasuke, your brother will face justice. I promise. Time is your ally, not his. I'm not talking about Itachi, Naruto, I'm talking about Hinata," Sasuke said, as another lone tear fell from his eye. Naruto was completely shocked by this. He didn't expect this to be his reason. I need to be stronger, so I won't lose the people I care about again. Not again. I just can't. When I thought Hinata was..." Sasuke couldn't finish his sentence, as he choked on his words. "Sasuke," Naruto said sadly. "I want to protect her, and Choji, from anything that comes our way. But I can't do that, if I'm still too weak," Sasuke said, as he dropped his head down in shame. Naruto can feel the pain in his friend's words, as he knelt down to his size. "Sasuke, you are one of the strongest person I know. You say you are weak, but I know your heart is filled with strength," Naruto said kindly. "It still doesn't matter. I still don't have enough hate," Sasuke said, remembering Itachi's words. Naruto only softened his gaze after hearing that. "There is so much more to you than just hate and anger, Sasuke. There's good too, I felt it. And I'm sure Hinata did as well." His sincere words made Sasuke turn his head up to look at the blonde Senju, who was giving him a bright smile. "Life was very cruel to both of us, my friend. And I'm afraid it is only going to get worse from here on out. But I want you to know that you will never be alone. You will always have me and Ino. And you will always have Hinata. That's my promise to you," Naruto said, with his bright smile never leaving his face. Sasuke honestly thought he saw Itachi's ghost behind Naruto. They were so alike that he didn't even realize until now. Itachi was once a kind and compassionate brother. Sasuke looked up to him, and wanted to be just like him. But then his entire world falls apart, when Itachi killed his entire family. That was the day his greatest hero became his greatest nightmare. But Naruto was different. Sure, Naruto could be ruthless sometimes, but his heart will always remain good to his and everyone else's eyes. Sasuke truly appreciates Naruto's friendship, but he doesn't want Naruto or Hinata getting hurt because of him. He realized that his goal was something that he has to do alone. "Thank you, Naruto, but I need to do this on my own," Sasuke said sadly. "The thing is, Sasuke, you don't have to," Naruto said, as he gently placed his hand on the Uchiha's shoulder. "I'm with you till the end of the line, pal," Naruto said with his signature bright smile, that caused Sasuke look at him with even more admiration in his eyes. Naruto was truly a brother to him. Naruto then stood up, and offered Sasuke his hand. Sasuke smiled at his best friend, and gladly grabbed the blonde's hand and pulled himself up from the ground. The duo then proceeded to make their way back to Tizuna's house, with Naruto helping Sasuke stand by letting the Uchiha lean on him, since he was slightly injured from Naruto's last attack. Hinata and Naruto will always be Sasuke's two most precious people, and he would do anything to keep them safe. The next day, at the finished bridge, almost everyone in the Land of Waves was gathering to say their goodbyes to their heroes and former enemies. Tizuna, Tsunami, Inari, Ranamaru, and everyone else were both happy and sad to see the brave shinobis return home. You all have our eternal gratitude. We could never had finished the bridge without you. Especially you, Naruto. Your clones were a big help. I can't tell how much we're going to miss you. Tizuna said with a smile. Do be careful on your way home, Tsunami said with her own smile. It was a pleasure to help this country. The people here deserve their freedom. And now, they have it. Kakashi said with a nice smile. Well, I hope that means you might consider giving me a little discount. Tizuna said shamelessly, regarding his full payment for the C-rank turn A-rank mission. No chance, old man. You still need cover the full payment for this mission to the Hokage. Asuma said with a small chuckle. Well, it was worth a shot. Tizuna said with a laugh. And misfired greatly, Naruto whispered to Ino, which made her giggle. Of course, I will pay. It will be my honor. I have already sent a letter to the Hokage, and he agrees that once business here has been restored, we will submit the full payment immediately. Tizuna said with a reassuring tone. Naruto then noticed Inari was about to cry, so he then approached and knelt down to the little boy. Why look so gloomy, Inari-kun? Naruto asked. Do you really have go Naruto-Nisen? Inari asked the blonde. Of course, little brother. I have my own home to go back to. But don't worry, we'll come visit if we can. Naruto said with smile, as he patted the head of the little boy. You swear you will? Inari asked with teary eyes, and a hopeful smile. Of course. What kind of a big brother will I be, if I forget about you? Naruto said with a bright smile. Nisen. Inari said with teary eyes. Also, here. Naruto gave Inari a small brown book. Consider this a going-away present. It's a copy of my favorite book. It helped me become the shinobi I am today. And remember, little brother, your father will always be with you. And so will I. Naruto said with a smile. Inari couldn't fight back the tears any longer, as he engulfed Naruto in a very tight hug. Thank you, Nisen. Inari mumbled his words in Naruto's chest. Tsunami, Ino, and Hinata couldn't help but cry as well, at the very sweet scene before them. Naruto happily returned Inari's hug, but he couldn't help but think that this feels very familiar. As if he remembered a certain glasses-wearing young woman, who treated him with the same amount of kindness and love that he is showing the little boy. He can only hope that can experience that same feeling again one day. Naruto then gently broke the hug and stood back up on his feet. He walked back to his team and waved goodbye to the people of Wave, as he and the rest of the Konoha and Ex-Kiri shinobis walked towards the other side of the bridge, and finally heading home. Little that they know, Tizuna had decided to name the bridge after their blonde whiskered face hero. Goodbye, everyone. Ino happily yelled out, as she waved goodbye and walked alongside Naruto. That was very sweet of you, Naruto-kun, Ino said with loving smile, as she reached out her hand to hold Naruto's. Thanks, Ino-chan. Hey, when we get back to the village, and of course, after a long overdue rest, what do you say, you and I go on a date? Naruto asked, giving her a warm smile. Naruto-kun, don't tease me about that, Ino said with an embarrassed blush and a cute pout. I'm not teasing the lady. What do you say? Naruto asked honestly, as he looked into her sky-blue eyes, and she couldn't help but smile at him. Oh, Whiskers. Of course. I'll be happy too, Ino said with a bright smile, as she wraps her arms around Naruto's, and lean her head against his shoulder, as they continue to walk back home. Asuma and Kakashi couldn't help but smirk at the scene of the blonde couple. Look at that Kakashi, your little brother and my student is a real chip of the old block. Saving an entire country and going home with his girl. Quite a story to tell, wouldn't you say? Asuma asked the silver-haired jonin. Ha ha ha, I guess so. I still can't get over the fact that Naruto knows how to use Minato-sensei's signature jutsu. Any chance you taught him that? Kakashi asked curiously. Nope. But I can only assume that Dad has a hand in it. Also, Naruto has been studying Fuinjutsu for quite a while now. I guess it was only a matter of time before he masters it. Asuma said. I supposed so. I guess it was a lot to take in. But right now, I just can't wait to get back home. Kakashi said with a tired sigh. Missing your Anko-chan already? Asuma asked teasingly. But Kakashi simply scoffed at the tease. He wasn't embarrassed. I guess I am. It still feels a little weird though. To have someone to come home to, I mean. Kakashi said. How long have you guys been living together? Asuma asked. About 6 months now. I guess I got used to living alone for so long that I forgot what it's like to live with someone. I just hope I can adjust as soon as possible. I don't want Anko-chan to worry. Haha, don't worry man. You will. Anko is crazy and sadistic, but she's a good person. And I can tell that you guys really care about each other. You two have been dating since you were 18. I'm just surprised you didn't just tie the knot with her already. Asuma said with a smirk. Little ways down the road, my smokeaholic friend. But enough about me. How about you and Kurenai? Kakashi said with his own teasing tone. What? What about me and Kurenai? Asuma asked, blushing his cheeks out. Now Asuma, you don't have to play the fool with me. It is pretty clear that you guys are together. Besides, you had a major crush on her since we were in the academy. It's not that obvious, is it? Asuma asked, hoping that all of his friends didn't know about his longtime affection for the raven-haired beauty. Only to those with eyes. Kakashi said with a teasing eye smile. Asuma wanted to continue his denial, but realized it was a futile against the copy ninja. He might as well talk to him about his secret relationship, since he never talked to anyone before. Well, it has been great. We've been seeing each other for several months now, God, it's so good to finally said that to someone else, for a change, Asuma said with a smile. Haha well, you can talk to me about that whenever you want, Asuma. It'll be nice to talk to someone my age about relationships for once. Before this, it was just Naruto. Thanks man, I appreciate it. But just so you know, Kurenai-chan and I still want keep our relationship a secret, at least for now. So I hope you don't mind. My lips are sealed. Ha ha ha, I guess the only one who hasn't got a girlfriend yet in our year is Guy, Kakashi said with a small laugh, but then he heard a very loud sneezing from the horizon, followed by an echoing yell out of flames and youth from afar. I'll pay big money to see that happened. Asuma said, as he removed the finished cigarette from his mouth, and replaced it with a new one. But let's move on to a new topic, do you think they are ready? For the Chunin exams, I mean? Kakashi asked. Well, my bet is on Naruto. That kid is a total beast. Ino is strong, and she will follow Naruto to hell if need be. Shikamaru is the brains, but his strength is improving every day. So yeah, I think my team is ready. How about yours? I'm still worried about Choji. Hinata has grown exceptionally over the months, in terms of both skill and confidence. As for Sasuke, well, let's just say my money is on him. This mission has really helped him grow as a shinobi. And if what he and Naruto had told me is true, he is my team's ultimate trump card. Hahaha, I'm getting the feeling that the next Chunin exam is going to be really interesting. You and me both. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed this what if and want to see next part of it, comment down below and let me know. Also share this video with your friends. See you in the next video. Peace.